Hello, and welcome to another bad movie review. I just finished rewatching City Dragon, the 1995 film, I guess, about something. Alright, the general plot seems to be about Ray. Ray is a man with a diverse set of interests. He's bed-hopping kung fu enthusiast with a habit of randomly rapping and rhyming. He meets Tina at a park and instantly falls for her, despite his dog-like ways. She leaves her abusive white boyfriend John, and I guess immediately falls in love with Ray, I guess. And that's about as far as the plot develops. At some point she's like pregnant or something, and he gets into a bunch of random I sort of blacked out during this movie, I'm not gonna lie. It's sort of PTSD that I seem to be suffering from, and I apologize to people with real PTSD for that, but this is one of the most horrendous movies I've ever seen in my life. At 98 minutes, it feels like about 6 hours, maybe like the whole Lord of the Rings trilogy, but of suffering and awful, awful dialogue. It will haunt you. Now, generally, I try and say something good, even about movies I don't like. There's usually something redeemable in them. In this particular case, I have trouble doing that because, for me, this was one of the most painful movies I've ever sat through. The highlights probably would be Kathy Barbour playing Tina and Fawn Reed playing Vicky. They're probably the two best actresses in this film out of everybody in the cast. The fight scenes seem to show up at random. The thugs just kind of appear for no reason, harassing Ray, who is played by, and I kid you not, MC Kung Fu. Now, that does not stand for Mick Kung Fu, as if there is Kung Fu in a McDonald's that may or may not be taught by Ray in clown pants. No, his real name is, I believe, Stan Derain. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. He is also the writer and one of the producers of this cinematic disaster. But he goes by the name MC Kung Fu for whatever reason. Of course, if I was in this movie, I'd want to change my name and disguise it as well. This is supposedly billed as an action comedy on most websites now. I suspect that it was initially just an action movie, and they decided that it was now, air quotes, funny, end quotes, but I don't see anything hilarious about it. This is sort of more of a Dante's Inferno sort of comedy. The cinematography is like a 1970s porno with lots of weird camera angles and static shot. It really looks like a porn film. Like, if you just watch random 10 minutes of this, you might seriously think you're watching some sort of like effort at really bad porn. This is an hour and a half you're never getting back. I counted at least one boob scene, but yeah, even that really couldn't save this film. At some point, Ray gets sexually harassed by his hot blonde boss, Renee, and that just seems to come out of nowhere because they never really address what he does all day. They just sort of insert that he works in some sort of office, but the office looks a lot like somebody's living room because you can see a kitchen in the background in a few shots. Like, oh, I'm here to help my boss, who apparently works from home, and he's wearing a like suit jacket and all that to look like he does this all the time. But up until the point where we meet Renee, they never discuss or show where he works or what he does. It's just sort of interjected in there to create this weird female boss sexual harassment thing. So that was odd and completely random, but it fills in the gaps between the random fight scenes, which all seem to happen at the exact same intersection. Because if you look at the buildings around him, he's always in the same shopping plaza. Why doesn't he just stop going to this shopping plaza? Yeah, there's a convenience store there next to his kung fu theater, or studio rather, but you could move your dojo somewhere else, and I would go to a new convenience store, because this one seems to be populated by out-of-shape middle-aged white dudes and the occasional Hispanic guy that want to randomly steal your car or beat you up. And that sweet 92 Camaro is not exactly worth the effort, honestly. But in the most horribly executed fight scenes I've ever seen, he has to fend off this roving gang of 6 guys, which I'm pretty sure it's the same guys in every single fight scene, which, you know, somebody should have learned a lesson by now. Either don't go there, or these guys should give up. Yeah, the technical aspects of this film are abysmal. I can see where they put the effort in, but it just doesn't come together. The music is this weird 90s kind of techno, which was probably the only music they could get when the boys aren't rapping, at least. Because Ray and his 2 friends are would-be sort of hip-hop artists, I guess. I don't know. They just sort of talk in this rhymey talk. It's called rap talk on a couple of websites, but I wouldn't give it that much credit. This is some sort of just stupidity. And the director is one of the main characters, Philthy Phil. He's even called that in the movie, which I could tell these guys all gave themselves these nicknames, because these nicknames are absolutely ridiculous. The best thing about this movie is that it ends after 98 minutes. 98 long, painful minutes. There's this weird fight scene with John near the end that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, because nothing in this movie makes any sense. If it does, I was too bored to pay attention, or possibly in some sort of self-preservation shock where I couldn't focus on anything just to preserve my sanity. This is some sort of weird Cthulhian film designed to, like, drive people mentally unstable. I can't say anything good about this movie. I'm sorry. It's easily one of the top 5 worst movies I've ever seen. Actually, I tend to rate this in the top 2, with it switching places with Hell's Bells. I'm sorry, Vampires and Other Stereotypes, as it was renamed. For the title of worst movie I've ever seen. And I've seen some really bad movies, and this beats out even Demon Under Glass, which is it's a boring man's vampire movie. Yeah, and this crushes that. This movie is soul crushing. It will make you sad for the movie industry and all of humanity. It was, if it was supposed to be a comedy, I didn't see it. It failed on every level. As an action movie, it doesn't hold up. The martial arts scenes are they're not good. Clearly, MC Kung Fu, which I have trouble saying that out loud, Stan, Mr. Derain, he clearly has some experience in martial arts, and I get that he wants to highlight that. But this movie was not the appropriate showcasing for that, and I don't think his acting skills are up to leading man material. The people he was fighting against clearly didn't know Kung Fu, and the cinematography and fight sequencing just did not mesh up. It was very hastily thrown together is how it looks. And I mean, I guess he's supposed to, like, annihilate these thugs fairly easily, but it just seems to drag on. Much like this review, it just doesn't seem to want to end. So I'm going to quit, because this movie just, it brings out this visceral need to like comfort rock and curl up in bed and take a nap so you can try and forget the suffering that you've been through. There is apparently a possible 2018 sequel called City Dragon 2. Now, the fact that I paid $3 for City Dragon and I feel like I am owed more than $3 and a couple hours of my life back, I probably will watch it just to review it, and because I'm a glutton for punishment and I do love me some bad movies. But this was an avoid for me. I cannot recommend this. You could make fun of it for a while. Some of the dialogue is so cringeworthy that you could probably do that, but about halfway through the movie, I think you're just going to be bored. It just doesn't seem to go anywhere for a good half an hour. The random fight scenes seem to be kind of just drawn out and thrown in just to create some kind of pacing, and it doesn't work. Everything about this movie falls flat. The video quality is awful. The dialogue is horrific, especially the rap. Oh, it's aside from the fact that it's incredibly dated now, it wasn't good then. I couldn't see anything worth recommending this movie over. It just failed in every aspect, and I could tell they put a lot of effort into it, but it just doesn't come together. So that's going to do it for this episode of Bad Movie Review. Be sure and check out our other videos and broadcasts and see what you think. And if you like what I had to say, give it a thumbs up. And we'll catch you next time. Thanks for listening.
Now you're the woman and I'm the man. You get that straight, or else.
Or else what? You gonna beat me again, huh? Just get away from me.